up, freaks, beasts, and athletes? It's DC here with Genesis Strength TV and InsaneFootballTraining.com. Today I want to give you guys 5 ways to improve your quickness and explosiveness so you dominate on the football field. Tip number 1 is you have to train correctly in the gym. What that means is you can't go in and half-ass your workouts, and you can't go in and just kind of throw your squats, throw those movements, not perform those type of exercises correctly, because that is going to be, that is not going to carry over onto the field to allow for that quickness and allow for the explosiveness to be developed. So train correctly in the gym by making sure that you have picture perfect form on every lift, and you are doing every warm-up drill and every mobility drill as correct as possible. Tip number 2, make sure you develop correct motor patterns and correct movement patterns. What are correct movement patterns? Is when you are doing your football drills, when you are doing speed and agility work, do them correctly. Do them to where the correct part of your foot is landing on the ground. You are utilizing them exactly how they're supposed to be done. Don't focus on speed. Don't focus on power. Focus on developing the correct movement pattern, and then worry about speed and making it more explosive and making it more of a quote-unquote athletic movement. Because if you don't do that, when you get onto the field, not only will the carryover not be there, but you also run the risk of getting hurt because the body's not used to moving correctly, landing correctly, cutting correctly. And so develop correct movement patterns and then increase those and add on to those in terms of your power and strength and explosiveness and athleticism. Tip number 3, I just kind of hit on it, is once you have that correct movement pattern down and you know it's done correctly and you can kind of increase the speed and start pushing yourself a little more, now you want to start adding strength behind it. That is the same way as we train every athlete in here. Is before they're allowed to squat with the barbell, they have to show us how they can squat with just body weight. We're not going to allow them to squat incorrectly with the barbell just to get stronger, because it's not going to carry over. Same thing, you see guys all the time out there doing sprints, out there doing ladder drills with weighted vests, sled speed training, band resisted training, even worse, parachute training. That type of stuff does have its place outside of parachute training. Never do parachute training. It's stupid. I'll talk about that in a later video, but sorry, back on topic. Is that type of stuff has its place, but it is not going to benefit you until that movement pattern is correct. So if you don't have a good solid movement pattern to where you can add that strength onto, then no matter how strong you get, it's not going to carry over onto the field. Tip number 4 to become a quicker and more explosive football player is to practice your sport-specific movements outside of your training. Here inside this facility, we are a strength and conditioning sports performance facility where our goal is to get every athlete that walks through the door stronger, faster, more explosive, more powerful, so they become better football players, they become better basketball players, whatever their sport is. That's our goal. But the best way to maximize the training that we do in here is by getting out and practicing your sport-specific movements. There's so many different movements, and I'm not talking drills, I'm talking movements, steps, plays, routes, drop steps, those type of things that, based off what your position is, stuff you're going to be doing over and over again that we don't have the time or ability to focus on in a training place like this, or even in practice. It's a few reps and the next group has to go. That is the type of stuff that you need to be doing more and more outside of your typical training if you want to take what you're doing inside, in your training, in your off-season training, in terms of strength gains, explosive power, all that stuff, and have it correlate and carry over onto the field. A good rule of thumb is the further away a movement is from running just a straight line, the more you need to practice it outside of your training. So linemen are huge on this. How many times have you seen the biggest, strongest, most powerful lineman not get picked up because he does not have good footwork? He can't do the drop steps. He can't do He can't pull. He can't move laterally. He can't shuffle. It's because that stuff is so far away from just running a straight line that they do in a lot of their training that it has to be worked on outside of your typical training. And then tip number 5 is become quick and explosive. What is the difference? Quickness is more about moving rapidly without that high-powered explosive force behind it, and explosiveness is more about the single amount of force and power you can put into an object, something like the ground, an opponent. That is explosiveness. So you have to worry about getting better in both aspects if you're going to become an overall better athlete and dominate on the football field. How can you do stuff like that? If you need to work on stuff like quickness, if your power's there, for example, if you have a, if you're explosive, if you have a good solid vertical jump, if you can run if you have a good clean, that is explosive power. If quickness is what you lack, you need to be doing more footwork type things to where it's not about power into the ground, but more about speed between things in correct movement patterns. If you are quick, the guy who you see always run the 40, whose feet are going 1,000 miles an hour, but he runs a slow 40 because he's not getting anywhere every step, that's the type of guy that needs to be working more on explosive power and hitting things like vertical jumps, weighted jumps, explosive squats, those type of movements that are going to build that explosive power up to add on to the quickness so they become an all-around better athlete. So there's your 5 tips to make sure you are able to become a quick and explosive athlete on the football field. Check out the link below. Visit InsaneFootballTraining.com. That way you are able to pick up your free football training guide, football training cheat sheet to allow you to get the best results possible. Now you guys know, and knowing is half the battle.